Well, good evening. Welcome to the pre-show for the Intrepid radio program. How y'all doing? I see field guys over there and Uncle Dave. Frankly, Scarlett, I don't give a damn. Hey, Big Honey Tina. Hey. Chuck Thurston is here. Sex, he says, sure, but as you get older, it takes a bit more work and a bit more pre-planning. Let's see. Let me put that down for next Tuesday at 7 p.m. All right. Then I know how to prepare. Ain't that the truth? It's still important, but maybe not your primary concern. Talking, communications needs to take the lead. What was simple becomes complex. And to be fair, it's not just the male side of this story, says Chuck. The female side of sex changes a lot too, and the two directions might not meet in the middle much. LOL. Oh yeah, getting older sucks. Ain't that the truth? Even my wife, my lovely wife, who is 20 years younger than I, is experiencing some things about getting a little older. So get your galoshes. It's going to get deep. Hey, Sarah. Oh, dear. What have I stumbled into? You stumbled into the same old. And we got about a minute and a half. We go live on Subspace Odyssey Radio. So, should be a fun hour. Not going to be able to do much of a captain's cabin tonight because I have to go work at the all-night shift, the graveyard shift at the local Quick Trip gas station food mart. And I was on my own last night with just a couple of kitchen workers and again tonight. So it'll be interesting. I'm starting to become zombified already from only doing a week of all-nighters. So it's really tough around here to do a night shift. It's tough. Night shift, third shift, graveyard shift, whatever you want to call it. It's really tough to do when you've got a family. All right, we got about 30 seconds and we go live on the radio. I didn't even check to see. Can everybody hear me okay? Check. Red Dog 1 to Red Dog Squadron. Okay, I did overnights for 4 years. I'm not going to make this. This is not going to go much longer. I'm going to tell you that, field guy. I'm going to put a kibosh to the night shift, I think, after tonight. So here we go. Going dark. Stay tuned.
The Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Hey, folks, happy Monday. Well, it is Monday, right? Yes, Monday. I'm doing a lot of all-nighters these days at the night shift, and I lose kind of track of what day I am in. That's what my brain's doing, too. So welcome, my happy Monday. It is the Intrepid radio program, and I'm your host, Scotty Roberts. As always, there's never a substitute, never somebody to fill in. I'm just doing my thing. That's not a comment on anybody else. It's just my show. That's all I meant to say by that. And so welcome to everybody that's here over in the chat room. I see Steph Cuervo Queen and Sarah Yusuf and Chuck Thurston and Field Guy and Uncle Dave Potter and Kat and Rebel. Good to see you, Rebel. And Randall Flagg. Who else is here? Field Guy is here. Did I say Field Guy already? He's here somewhere. And as people start to come in, and folks, if you're listening to this program over on Subspace Odyssey Radio, there is not a live chat room over there. If you want to join the live chat room and also watch the video simulcast of this show or see it in archive, you can go over to my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. So you can play the audio if you want and then pull up the chat room and keep that open. You can also chat alongside it. So you don't have to be here staring at the screen the whole time. I'm not putting on a cinematic epic show Here, it's just me talking into the camera with my background stuff. So I hope you're enjoying your day. And oh, by the way, if you go over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Scotty Roberts, you can hit the subscribe button and you'll be subscribed to this show. And I know some people have tried to tune in. I got some emails today or messages saying, I can't ever find your show or hear your show. Just when you hit subscribe, hit the little bell icon that pops up when you do that. That means that you are, in theory, YouTube is supposed to send you notifications of when every one of my episodes play. And while you're over there, hit the join button. You can see how you can help financially support this broadcast. And we appreciate it very much. I was looking for good adjectives. Or is appreciate an adverb or an adjective? It modifies an adverb modifies a verb. So if I say appreciate, appreciate's a noun, right? Or is appreciate a verb? Because it's an action thing. I am appreciating. I appreciate. So therefore, I very much appreciate. So I'm modifying my verb. That's an adverb. There you go. My old English teacher would shower me with blessings for bringing that up. So tonight I want to talk about something that we all deal with in one way or another. Unless you are celibate, or unless you are somebody who is just not attached and you don't have any outlet for it or no desire to pursue it, without necessarily being celibate for a spiritual, religious, or otherwise cause. I'm going to talk about sex, and sex that comes with relationship. Now, sex, as we all know, sex can be free love and all of that stuff, like they started to teach us in the 60s. It became very open, and everything else since then. Sex is sex. The male and the female can have sex, and every other brand of imagined species in between, or gender, or whatever you might be. And there, I've just belied my political stance, if you want to call it that, on genders. You all know I believe in man and woman. And what did Mr. Rogers say? Boys are boys from the beginning. Girls are girls right from the start, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's my stance on that. We'll move away from that. If you want to pretend or believe or feel in your bones that you are somebody of the other gender, that's your thing. I leave that to you. That's yours. It's not mine to leave to you, but for me personally, in my space, I leave it to you. That's your call. I'm not going to hate you, like you, dislike, or love you either way. You are who you are, and pursue your bliss, as Joseph Campbell said. So, but don't impose it. Don't go out there and I'm not even going to get into that, because I'm going to eat my time away. That's a rabbit trail anyway. You get where I stand. We'll do a whole show on that sometime. Then I can express the way I would like to express about that topic and expound exponentially, wax eloquent about that topic. I just live and let live, says Kat over in the chat room. Doesn't affect my life one damn bit, so why should I care? Same here. Live and let live. That's what you want to do. That's your thing. But do not start trying to affect legislation with it and normalize it. It's your thing. Do what you want. I don't go out trying to normalize laws based on my heterosexuality, although that ties into just being an average person. So let's move on with that. Do whatever blows up your kilt, says Kat. There, I just paraphrased her. Some people are just asexual. Are you saying asexual, Dave? Or I'm asexual. So Steph says, Dave, I think I would consider myself I-sexual, like iRobot, says Steph. So there you go. But tonight, I want to talk about sexuality in the sense that we all crave it. Well, maybe some of you don't. If you don't, you're the odd duck, but you can still listen. We all crave sex. We all have sexual desires. We all are sexual beings. Now, some of us may have by choice or whatever it might be, we have chosen to not be that way. We have chosen to, oh, sex can go by the wayside. Sex is something I don't need so much of. And so, there is also that with people. However, most everybody I'm talking to that can hear my voice tonight, you are somebody who needs to have sex in your life in one form or another, to one degree or another. And um, how would I say it? We desire it. It drives us. It's about what we um, it's about what we do. How do I want to say that? It's about how we live. It's about how we're made up. That's what I was going for. It's our part of our biology. Now, the big question is sex just a biological thing? Is it just a thing for reproduction? I mean, that's the end result of sex. But if sex is for reproduction only, why the hell is it so damn pleasurable? Is sex only to be for reproduction? Is that the only reason we would have sex? Or is sex something that can be extended to other things? So here's the big question I want to look into tonight and examine tonight, and hopefully I'm being articulate enough to not keep stumbling over my words. I will tell you and confide in all of you, this working a night shift thing by choice. It's by volition. Nobody forced me to do it. I said I need to create some extra revenue to cover the bills and pay for things and buy food and feed my children and clothe them. Just those little necessities of life. So I took that what was supposed to be a full time, but it's only part time to start with. But I'm working nights, and it has zombified me this week because working nights is not for married people. It's not for people raising a family that have kids. It just does not work. I don't care what anybody. Well, I worked nights for years, and my kids turn out fine. I don't care. I really don't care. In my family, in my sphere of influence, my sphere of existence, working nights is counterproductive to raising my family, to nurturing my family, because I got to tell you, it's got me damn near zombie state these days. So, having said that, that has driven sex out the window, by the way, especially for the last week. But here's the question I want to ask: how do you keep the spark alive as you get older, or at least more entrenched in your relationship? And I'm talking about relationships where we love the other people, where we want to be there. I've been with my wife for 18 years. Um, I don't want to change that, and hopefully she feels that same way. I don't think she wants to change it. I think she wants to change things about me, but I don't think I mean, what's the comedian I brought up last week? He says, my wife and he says, we get along great, and we've been married for 15 plus years. And he says, the one thing I've learned is she's got all her shit together, and I'm the one that always needs work because we're guys. So, so there's always things we have to work on with ourselves. And my wife and I think are in a pretty good place where this is what our relationship is, and this is where it's going to be, and it's going to just grow. It's going to get better. But sexuality isn't the same. So why is that? Why does that happen to us in the in our human experience? Why is sex not the same as it was? How do you keep that spark alive? Meaning, um, the unbridled walking into the door and just stripping each other's clothes off and going at it. Now, it's not that doesn't happen, but, and I'm not giving you true confessions or personal biography here, but you will find it the longer you've been with somebody, sometimes it just doesn't happen quite as much anymore. And you have to ask yourself, well, why? Is there something wrong with me? Is it because I put on weight? I put on weight. You don't like the way I look naked anymore. No, honey, it's not that at all. Or vice versa. Sometimes when you're a male, What happens when males age? What are all the ads you see out there? Erectile dysfunction. As men get older, sometimes it's harder to get it up. And so men and women have to work with that. Sometimes with women, they have all the things that affect women. I didn't want to go into categories. You know what I'm talking about. Hey, Valerie, welcome to the chat room. And Sarah says, not an excuse. I'm not sure if you're responding to something I said or if there's something else, something somebody else said. Yeah. So here's the big question when it comes to sexuality. Why is it that when you're first with somebody and sex is fantastic, it's always sexuality? Not that that runs the relationship, but it's a major part of early relationship. It's a major part of youthful relationship. It's what's there. I saw a commercial, says Field Guy, that says, your carrot can bend. It's called Periani's disease. I'm like, how is that bad? I don't try to bend mine. I'll just tell you that, just for personal anecdote. But so why is it changes? If you're a little older, like me, or somewhere in between where I am and the younger generation is, if you will, Rainy's 20 years younger than me. What is it that keeps the spark alive when you've been together? And it's not always age. Sometimes you've been together for 20 years. But you'll notice if you look back, you go, sex is okay and it's good, but man, it's like 1/8 of the time it used to be, or 1/10 of the time it used to be. Or, hey, it's been once in 2 years. Why is that? But we love each other and those questions come up. So are you missing your early relationship sex? And how do you keep that spark alive? You just have to be willing to tend to it. I'm saying this to men and to women. Women are usually like when women have kids, women can still have a sex drive, but sometimes the libido is gone after you've had your kids and they're starting to grow into grade school kids and so on. And the husband's the one that always seems to be begging. It's like this, and this is not. I'm not speaking this to women. This is to men and women. This whole topic tonight, but for men looking at their wives or women, there's a list of things that you hear when a man almost has to beg for it sometimes. But he says, "Hey, honey, let's get it on. Let's get it bow, chicka, bow, bow." But there's a list. Oh, I don't feel good today. Oh, I'm so tired from work today. Oh, I have a headache. That's the old favorite, of course. Or oh, I can't do it tonight. Stop bugging me all the time. How come that's all you ever think of? How you can make this list. There's a list like this long of 20 to 30 different things. Let's just go with 30 because there's one for every day of the week, every day of the month. Guys, we have a list too. That's you know what ours is? Here's the guys list. Okay. That's it. We got one item. Okay. Just happy to be there. And or as you get older, sometimes okay, give me a few minutes. Or give me a couple of days. Let me put it in the planner. So things are different as you get older or you get stayed in a relationship, which is funny because I think part of that is the relationship starts to focus on different things. When you're younger, is that the biology? It's like, ooh, woman must have childbearing. Though I don't think most guys look at a woman and go, oh, wow, she has great childbearing hips. That's not what we do, but that is a tendril probably of what's way in the back of our minds from evolutionary biology, if you want to put it that way. But why is it not the same is the question. And all of us that are in relationships can probably look at it and go, yeah, that's pretty true. It's not the same. Other things, like Chuck Thurston said a little earlier, other things start to take greater importance. Not greater. Not that one is better than the other, but life is different. We have kids now. When we didn't have kids, Rainey and I, it was like I said before, it was like, okay, in the bed, it was at the desk chair, it was on top of the refrigerator, on the stove, on the vanity in the bathroom, on the sofa, on the floor, in front of the fireplace, outside in the lawn chairs with a blanket over us, and nobody could tell what was going on because they couldn't see the backyard. I mean, in the car, in the van. Let's go out in the van. Let's just do it in the van because we haven't done it in the van. Well, you know what? Now it's like, what do you do with all that time? Scouts, work, things have to be done. Oh, yeah, I'd like to have sex, but you got to fix it. And I'm putting this in the context of the female because the guys rarely turn it down. Rarely. It's a guy won't go usually. Oh, honey, I got a ball game I got to watch on TV. No, they're like, can I keep the TV on while we do it? And so there are different priorities in our life. Sarah says women have different ratios of hormones than men. Okay, I agree with that, and I know that. I don't have any scientific fact to share with you on that. But I know it's true. She's correct. Uncle Dave says there's no better birth control than children between 10 and 13. Get a child to that age, and you're like, nope, I don't want any more of that. That's how they're going to turn out. Yeah, I always say, and pardon your, cover your sensitive ears. I call my little children our greatest cock blockers that existed. And they always seem to show up at the right moment. Rainey's like, well, we don't ever have time. And by the time everybody's asleep, I'm so tired from the day, and this was just the facts we were dealing with. And so you try to sneak it. And when they all went to school finally, and they were all in school, it's like, yes, we have 6 hours a day, but then you had to do all your other stuff during that time. So early love is often this whirlwind of desire. It's optimism, it's playful connection. And we build up a tolerance to each other's presence. Being near a new lover releases this whole flood of aphrodisiacal, is that a word, aphrodisiacal hormones. But when spontaneous arousal and desire fade, it doesn't mean your love is doomed. It means it's time to choose ongoing sexual connection rather than waiting to be swept away by the hormonally driven passion that you once relied on earlier. It was stuff you didn't even have to think about earlier on. But what do you do as you keep going into a relationship and it keeps growing and growing on? Although we can't go back in time and relive the glory days of new love, we can make choices that recreate the key features of that era. Have you ever thought of that? I sometimes see, if you're on my Facebook or my Instagram, I put up pictures of my wife and my wife and I when we were younger and stuff like that some people wouldn't dare put up. But I'm like, hey, you know what? I love these pictures. It reminds me of a time where, before we even were dating, and I got that first massage from Rainey, who was going to show me, I can show you my massage therapist. I can show you. I was at her house hanging out with friends, and I said, yeah, but I'll only take a free massage if you do it topless. Whoosh, shirt came off. I'm like, well, okay. I said, I guess I'm obligated now. And so, back in those days, don't you wish you could go back and relive those times with the person that you really love? Wouldn't that be awesome to be able to do that? But what do you have? You still have that person. We're just now almost 20 years older, and we're 20 years into it, 3 kids into it, and everything that comes with life that moves on. But going in, because we can't recreate that, there's ways that we can, because while it's true that we're gifted with bursts of feel-good hormones early on, it's not true that that's all it took to create a robust sex life. So, in fact, early in relationships, we make all kinds of choices that set the stage for sexual connection. Get that? We make choices for sexual connection. It just comes so naturally to do so in the beginning that we don't even notice how we're actively making those choices. And over time, we stop choosing courtship behaviors. And then we wonder why the flame went out, why the spark is cold, We stop, listen, that's the first important point I want to make. We stop choosing courtship behaviors. And when we do that, we can extinguish the spark very quickly. So, what would it look like to continue to make courtship style choices in honor of long term sexual satisfaction? What are the key behaviors that we can choose in order to tend to long term love as effectively as we tend to new love? Now, I got 3 important factors. As you can imagine, I got a numbered list here. Number 1, preparation and anticipation. Preparation and anticipation. The first thing to know is that the cultural narrative that sensual connection was spontaneous in the early days is a myth. It wasn't just spontaneous when love was new and fresh and exciting. And while it's true that you likely had easier access to desire thanks to neurochemical gifts, it's not true that this means sex just happened spontaneously. In fact, early in our relationships, we focus a lot of our attention on setting the stage on which the sensual dance can be played out. I know when I first met Rainey, it was when I went to go meet her somewhere, went to pick her up. I knew she was coming over. The house had to be clean and vacuumed, and you want to make sure everything's picked up. The toilet has to be clean. My mom taught me when I was growing up, if the house is a mess and you got people coming over, at least your toilet should be clean. So I always made sure I had a clean toilet. Still do. It's still a thing in my life, clean toilet. But you put on a little incense, you burn a little incense, and you put on music, nice music. And I would put on, like Celtic music, real soft, and you just play it. It's over the stereo throughout the house, and you just play it. And you walk in, she walks in, and the house is clean. Oh, the lights are low. Oh, look, I even have a candle burning over there. Oh, that's the candle that I always burn. And incense. Oh, it smells very sagey in here, or whatever, frankincense-y, and the low music, and it was beautiful. So, we focus on in our early relationships a lot of the attention on setting the stage. We plan a date for several days away. Usually, it's not like, hey, can you go out in 2 hours? It's usually, hey, you want to go out Thursday night? Yeah, let's do it. And we spend those days thinking about what we're going to wear, where we might go, what kind of mood we want to set. And we daydream about what might happen in our new love's arms. And now, of course, when you get to go out at all, if you get to go out, formal dates have become a thing of the past. It's like, hey, honey, let's go on a date. Yeah, what night? Let's go tonight. Oh, I can't tonight. I got a parent meeting. Okay, how about tomorrow night? Oh, that's a scout meeting. Okay, how about the next night? Oh, wait, I work that night. How about the following night? How about we go out Saturday for lunch? Oh, we can't, because I got that little scout trip with the thing and the kids. And okay, oh, we're going up to my mom's to go fishing. Oh, okay, or we're doing whatever. You know how that goes when you get a little older and entrenched in relationship and family building. There are priorities that take over, and all of a sudden you can't do the same things anymore. So going on a date is different. Now going on a date can look like, hey, the kids are all gone. Rowan's over tonight's for overnight. Flynn's at an overnight with his buddies, and Ellery went to Grandma's to hang out with Grandma overnight. We got tonight. Let's go on a date. And it's not usually get all gussied up and all the makeup's perfect and the other nines and you're dressed to the nines. It's like, we got time right now. And we just head out and you go out and you could be in sweats. You could be in a t-shirt. I'm sorry, folks. I'm going to make a social commentary here. Why has the male apparel, male dress in America become the typical is t-shirt and shorts and tennis shoes and a baseball cap? That's the typical American attire for a male. It's like, come on, men, spice it up a little bit. Figure it out. Well, so on the big day of the date, we pull out our favorite skivvies, our undies, that we purposefully didn't wear all week. We may have even gone out and gotten new ones. And we take a 10 to it all type of a shower. And we listen to music that gets us in the groove. We tidy the house up or wherever you're living, an apartment, whatever. And we ask any roommates, if you got a roommate, to make plans to be out. I remember that when I was first started dating my ex-wife. So we're talking back in 1989. I had a big two-floor townhome. You know, the oak banister staircase and the French doors, glass that led into my room and stuff. It was at fireplace. It was a nice place. And my room was at the top of the steps. Well, I had rented out the spare room was at the other end of the upstairs. And he was going to be out of town. And I told him, your girlfriend likes to come over here sometimes. I said, could you make this a don't come into the place weekend? Because I got a hot date coming over. Sure. Well, I'll tell you, this is an old story, but I wish it involved Rainey, but it didn't. It's before her. But there's my old girlfriend, and one thing leads to another. It's up the stairs, clothes strewn up the staircase, and you end up smacking the two French doors open, plopping into bed, which is right in front of the French doors. And I said, you see me coming up the stairs, and you're right as you get to a certain height, you can see my bed right through the doors. There we are. We're naked. We're humping and bumping and doing the glorious nasty, as they say. When I hear, oh, and I look over, and it's my friend's girlfriend coming up the stairs, and she's like, oh, sorry. I'm like, you must not have gotten the message. So, you have those chances, and you take advantage of them. When we finally meet up with our love interest for the date, we make one more key choice. We flirt. We choose to communicate in ways with our words and our body language and our eye contact. My eyes are up here. Hey. That indicate that we're interested in sensual connection. And this is all the opposite. All of those things are the opposites of spontaneity. It's preparation. We prepare ourselves. So as we think spontaneity is the key, it wasn't so much. We always prep for that. What this preparation does, it creates a container in which we can meet our partner in a state of sensual readiness. And within that space, we've created sexual connection can happen spontaneously within this preconceived space because we've created it. So the spontaneity is something we've created. Sexual connection can happen spontaneously here. In the same way, improv can happen once the actors have taken the prepared stage in the state of readiness. So over time now, what happens? Have any of you experienced this? What happens over time? We cease to prepare. We stop making dates. We stop making time and making the choice to wake up our sensual self in anticipation of erotic connection. Without the container, the spontaneous sexual connection just doesn't happen. When Rocky and I were doing a show, Rocky Stucci and I, and we had our special guest and good friend of mine and ours, Sarah Soderlund, would come on, and we'd always flirt with her on air. It was just what we did. It was part of the show. And we were talking about, shaving parts of your body and things. And it was all in a context of being fun and trying to be on that edge of sexy comedy. And Sarah made the statement that stuck with me ever since. This was about 4 years ago. I think she said this 3 or 4 years ago. And we were talking about all that stuff. And she says, my motto, she says, always be prepared. And Rocky and I went, ooh, yeah. Always be prepared. Always be ready. And it's like, guys, come on. Guys have a tendency to not be ever ready. We can be ready physically, usually in the snap of a finger. But we're not usually ready in other ways. We haven't planned any dates. That's a thing of mine. I stopped planning dates. You know why? Because we can never take them. And we went on one date. Rainey and I went on one date about a year and a half ago, maybe. I mean, an official date. We go on dates all the time. It's just our dates are usually comprised of sometimes we'll see a movie, sometimes we go grocery shopping, and that's our date. We go garage sailing, and we walk hand in hand down the sidewalk, walking up to a house for garage sale. That's our date. But when we had a really nice planned one, it was about a year and a half ago, I took us to a nice place in Stillwater, and we sat there. We kind of felt like we had just met each other. I mean, it had that feel to it. It was like, well, what do we talk about now that we're on a date? Drinking a little wine, having a scotch, eating gluten-free foods, which didn't happen when we were dating. So it had a feel to it. We were in a nice place, all wood and low lights and good music, but that was very different. We set the stage. Now, the only mystery here is what is why that continuously surprises us. That connection doesn't happen with spontaneity. Do actors spontaneously burst into improv if they haven't set the stage for it or know what they're going to talk about? Improv is usually built on the fact that you've prepared and you know what you're going to say when you have the opportunity to burst into improv. So maybe this is why we love movies where everyone erupts into song and dance in the high school cafeteria. It feeds the fantasy that we can come alive like that without any preparation. But that, folks, is the myth. To keep sex alive for the long haul, you have to honor the importance of preparation. And it's not just foreplay. And a joke was, hey, let's have foreplay. You wet yet? That's the guy's idea of foreplay. Let's go. Because a guy can usually be like, hey, yeah, let's go. Now, go. You're on it, baby. Hop on. Where a woman needs a little bit more than that. Sometimes a guy needs more than that, but not much. So to keep sex alive for the long haul, you have to honor the importance of preparation. Create the container so that you can spontaneously connect within it. Here's my container. You may take it now. I've prepped the way. And this might look like more date nights or even a regular, get this, folks, a regular sex date. It's like, what the hell is that, you might say? Where you get to daydream about it for days, maybe even leading up. On Monday night, you go, hey, on Tuesday or on Thursday, we're going to go out for a date. And there might even be a little bit of this, a little bit of that. If we can find a quiet parking spot where the kids aren't. So you prep for it. You lead up to it. You create the tension of erotic anticipation. And for some, they just don't do that. I don't have the time to do that. I don't have the time. There were times Rainey would say to me, we were so busy, and she'd say, you just go over there and get ready. Call me when you're ready. I'll come over. We'll take care of business, and then I can finish what I have to get done today. That's just the way it was. There was no planning involved. And was that fun, erotic sex? No. Sometimes it's just even the talking about it. We were talking with friends once about sexuality, about what men like, about what women like. And it was a great conversation. It lasted, Travis Thorpe, you've seen him in here. It lasted about 2.5 hour conversation. When we were done with that conversation, it was about 2 a.m. And it wasn't sex laden. It was talking about the things that men and women desire. We were talking about the mechanics of sex and this very thing. We hung up that phone. Guess what happened? Right there on the sofa. And so, Rainey was like, she kept looking like, oh, did I hear a kid? She'd sit and stare and look quietly, because you got to be careful of that stuff. You have to choose to sensualize your bedroom with lighting that you love, fabrics you love, music you love, so you can connect with the partner you love in the space that you create explicitly for that purpose. You should see our bedroom. Have you seen some of the early pictures I did where we did the gloss red on the floor, the dark red, and painted the walls? And I got, it sounds like a hunter's cabin. That's all we got on there right now. The big pile lined red and black, looks like a Rob Roy McGregor plaid bedspread on there with the thick white wool on the other side, and the pillows and the black hanging things and wall hangings and all of that, and a Persian rug and all these things that tie it all together in weird eclectic ways. Low lighting. I've set up the lighting so it's a certain way in there. And you know what you're doing? You're prepping, come into my parlor, said the spider to the fly. So I like having our bedroom looking a certain way so that it is appealing, that it's not a place that's strewn with clothing and dirty clothes pile is over there and over there and over there, and the bed's never made. I like when I'm up, no, not the mornings these days anymore. It's always nighttime, but whenever we're out of bed, I like making the bed. So I like us walking into that bedroom. The bed is made. The pillows are at such an angle. If there's stuffed animals or hers or whatever, anything that gets set up on there, and there's stuff around, and it makes it. You walk into that bedroom over there, and it's like, whoosh, you're like in, and the chic shall return soon. Have a seat, my dear. And so, and you choose to flirt. You prep your areas. You create areas specifically for that purpose. Don't let the spillage of daily life. And I go this way because I'm looking upstairs. I walk around this house and I'm like, does anybody ever pick anything up? For Pete's sake. You don't want that in the area that is solely the area for husband and wife, for you and your partner to walk into. And if you're not married, if it's only occasionally you meet the person, you got to have a place that's prepped. Then you choose to flirt. Don't expect yourself to want to jump into your partner's arms for passionate kisses on the heels. And that's a thing of mine, because I love loving on my wife. I'm a touchy-feely person. She can be cooking or washing dishes. I like to come up behind her and put my arms around her. I like to, whenever I walk by her, doesn't matter what's going on. We might not even be talking with each other. I like to walk by. I'll always run a finger along her shoulder or touch her shoulder or pat her butt or whatever. Those are things I like to do because I like the touch. I like the tactile part of being in love with somebody. She's not as tactile as I am, meaning she doesn't just walk by me and now she'll sit here on the radio and grab me sometimes, but that's for effect sometimes. But hey, there it is. But I always expect that she's going to act the same way as me. And sometimes I'll hug her while she's cooking and she'll go, hey, careful. I'm cooking, trying to get this done. And maybe that's don't get me all hot and bothered right now. So, your partner isn't always going to want to have those passionate kisses and everything on the heels of a conversation about the finances or what to cook for dinner for the kids or work deadlines or the toddlers and the teenagers who are holding you hostage and all their friends always over. Hi, Mrs. Roberts. Mrs. Roberts is going to be that mom, that MILF that all the teenage boys like. So signal to your partner and to your own sensual self that you're inviting connection, just like you did automatically in the beginning. Use your words, your body language, and your eye contact to create a charged dynamic. All right, those are the things you have to do. You have to prep the stage because it's not all spontaneousness. I'm missing a lot of what you guys are all saying over there, but let's see. Well, let me say one thing, says Barbie D. When you're told time after time, I'm not worth his time, I prepare for nobody and nothing anymore, Scotty. Sorry. Yeah, that's it. When you're told that you're not worth their time and their effort, what's that going to do to the other partner? Exactly, Barbie D. So guys, take that to heart because women aren't usually that way. Women can be driven that way by guys that don't pay attention to them, Don't give them their time. Don't give them what it needs to do none of this prep work. So we're only on point 2. Seek novelty. Another key element of the fiery beginnings is the novelty of it all. Novelty wakes up our senses. It boosts dopamine. It calls us to mindful attention, all of which make it a very powerful aphrodisiac. Novelty is easy in the beginning because everything's new. In the beginning, everything about the other person is new. But over time, we've chosen to break out of ruts and find new ways to spend time together. And these changes can be contextual and can be accessible. Any change creates novelty. So find a new restaurant, take a dance class together. I told Rainey, I said, I want to learn. We were watching with the kids the Cinderella, the new one that came out a few years ago now, 5-6 years ago, maybe even more than that, with the new actors. And it was a live action version of Cinderella. And it was really beautifully done. And there was, if you don't get if you've never had a chance, go watch the ballroom scene from Cinderella from whatever year it was. It came out just a few years ago with the blonde actress playing Cinderella, and you've seen the guy before playing Prince Charming. And so go look that up and watch the ballroom dance. She's in a blue dress. And I said to Rainey, I said, and we still haven't done it. We haven't had the time to do it. I said, I want to take a ballroom class together, or not ballroom dancing. I want to take a class and learn how to do a dance like that together, you and I. And so I remember I wanted to prep that for my daughter's wedding, which was 4 years ago. So it was at least 6 years ago that I saw this, and we never did get it done. It was something we never got a chance to do. So these changes can be contextual. It's accessible. It's novel because it's new. Find a new restaurant, take a dance class, spend the weekend someplace new. Spending the weekend used to be harder for us. Now it's getting a little easier now that the kids are getting a little older. I still don't want to leave my kids. I wouldn't leave my little ones alone for the weekend. Flynn, he's 14. He's going to be 14 in a month or 2 months. And so he's like, yeah, I can stay. He's fine. Even Rowan to a certain extent. But leaving them in charge of the 8-year-old, we had to have an adult present. That's where Uncle Dave comes in. Hey, Uncle Dave, come and spend the weekend at our house. You get to cook and clean for my kids and watch them and all of that. But what did Kat say? Yeah, himself, with a capital H, himself has prosthetics to both knees. We're going to have to skip the dancing. Sounds like fun, though. So skip the dancing. Skydive. Take an air balloon ride, something, whatever. I've always found, too, it's hard to be novel without having money to be novel. So you got to be real imaginative if you don't have money to spend. Things to do. So spend the weekend someplace new, meet for lunch instead of dinner, or better yet, meet at home for a clandestine midday no-holds-barred adventure. Arr! That's where we're going to dress as pirates. And our bed is the ship, and I'm going to make you walk the plank, or at least climb the mizzen mast. Arr! So in the beginning of a relationship, even the sex play is novel, as you have to learn what your partner likes and what you like with your new partner. And at some point, sexual routines tend to take over. And we find what's reliable, efficient, safety in each other's comfort zones, and we settle in. Hey, the laundry's piled up all around us, missionary style, bing, bang, boom, we're done. You're on top style, bing, bang, boom. And we got it done. It's accomplished. Yay, we had sex. Woohoo! And then it goes into, Mom, you hear from somebody wakes up. Mom, Dad, what are you guys doing? Get out of our room for a minute, okay? So, sex isn't that complicated, says Field Guy, who never has it. in the 43-year-old virgin's mind, just teasing you, Field Guy, over there in the chat room, he says sex isn't complicated. That's really not. Raw sex isn't complicated. The planning stage, the prepping, the setting the stage for spontaneity is what takes a little bit of work. Pack a picnic by the lake, says Valerie. That's great. And yes, that is a good thing to do. You can do that 2 weeks out of the year up here. So without freezing to death. But familiarity does breed comfort, but it doesn't breed long-term heat. I can tell you that. You got to find ways to step out of the familiar and comfortable together. Take risks, try new things, risk feeling awkward, risk not liking something, risk having your partner not like something. And so, you know what? I'm preaching to myself on all these fronts too. These are all things I need to do too. Does any of that sound unappealing? Remember that in the beginning, when sensual energy was high, all of your sex play with your new partner was a risk. I don't know if she's going to like this. I know I'll like this because I'm doing it. And that's the way it used to. That's the way it used to be. Why? Because we did risky things. And I'm not talking about walking a tightrope and screwing on a tightrope. That's risky, but not the kind of risk I'm talking about. So that's not coincidence. Heat comes with risk. Trying something new, learning it's not your thing or their thing is not a failure. It's an expansion. Now, I think I know my wife pretty well, but do I know enough to know what would arouse her to that point of going, oh my God, take me now? That doesn't happen as often these days. So the more you expand, the more your new ground you're going to explore. Then there is third point, differentiation. You don't think about these things when you think about sexuality, do you? Differentiation. This point deserves its own whole article to be written, a book to be written, a movie to be done, a whole episode to talk about differentiation. So you got to stay tuned to this show. We'll talk about this one more. But the highlight for the purposes of this episode right now is this. Right now, you have to remember this. When you first meet your long-term love, you were a whole separate being, and so were they. You were two wholly separate people. You each had your own dreams. You each had your own visions. You each had your own plans for what life was going to do, until suddenly this other person is now in the mix. Ooh, what's going to happen to my dream of, moving to Egypt, becoming an archaeologist? What's going to happen to my dream of world travel? What's going to happen to my dream of doing this or doing that or the other thing? You all had your own dreams and your own visions, your own good days, your own bad days, your own, oh, I don't get up early in the morning. I don't like it. And the guy's like, well, hey, I'm a morning person. Hey, honey, happy 5:50 a.m. You want to have sex now? It was new back then, so it was good. Not so spontaneous anymore. So you have your good days, your bad days, your own preferences, your own reactions to things. You had separate friends. You had separate daily routines. You had separate expectations of your lives. You had lived a whole life up until that time, up until that very moment, being completely without that other person. Now, part of what drew you together is what you saw in the other as a separate person. Over there, across the room, some enchanted evening, when you see a stranger, across a crowded room. You know the old song from South Pacific? When you saw them across the crowded room. I remember the first time I really looked at Rainey that way, which is when she came into that Irish pub. I was like, oh my God. And I saw her across that crowded room. And so that happens. Doesn't always happen quite that way. But part of what drew you together is what you saw in that other separate person within the walls of their own skin. And you also fell in love with the parts of you that the other person brought forward. You were enriched. You were versions of yourself that were refined at that moment, enriched at that moment. And you got to experience great joy and intimacy in bringing those two things together. What you weren't yet in the beginning was blended. You didn't have any of that. Although some early posturing and wooing might have taken place, and the bottom line is that in the beginning, the task was to see if you were a fit. You weren't yet doing whatever you thought was necessary to maintain still waters. You didn't have to change to meet their expectations. You didn't have to shrink to stay in their comfort zone or give up parts of yourself that you thought couldn't be accepted. Those patterns, known as enmeshment, built over time. And when we first meet a new partner, we get to experience the potential in a relationship that exists when we're both whole. It's like we've stepped off the plane in a beautiful new vacation spot and we're taking in the glory of the sunshine, the palm trees, the future adventures, the possibility of true relaxation. And over time, though, our baggage starts to catch up with us, doesn't it? Our old stories resurface, like the belief that conflict threatens closeness, so we better keep the peace. The fear that we will be abandoned if we show our shadows or our darker side, so we better stay pleasing and light. Or the narrative that nobody can be deeply trusted, so we put up our protective walls. And once we start adapting around these stories, we lose our wholeness and we enter a state of subtle repression and oppression that blocks our sensual connection. Sensuality and sexuality are about freedom and flow, and we become enmeshed and our erotic energies begin to fade. So maintaining a state of differentiation involves concrete steps like nourishing your own interests, activities, friendships, spending time separate from your partner. Let yourself live interesting lives that fill you up so you can bring your stories, your curiosities, your enthusiasms back to your partner. These are precious gifts that fuel long-term chemistry. But differentiation also includes the more subtle, invisible dynamics. Watch for the ways you might be shifting your own thoughts or feelings in the name of protecting your partner or the relationship. Notice energetic masking, withdrawal, shrinking that you do. Be on the lookout for feelings of resentment or contempt, the two worst things in a relationship. These are all red flags that indicate you're enmeshing with your partner. Your edges have blurred and you're blocking your own flow in the name of protecting the relationship. So, meet your partner as your full and separate self, just like you did in the beginning. And on that note, we got to say goodbye to the radio audience. Radio audience, thank you for being here. We will see you on Friday. Live long and prosper. Everybody else, sit tight for the Captain's Cabin.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid Radio Program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
All right, folks, welcome to the Captain's Cabin, which is only going to be a very short period of time tonight because in about 10 minutes, I've got to be out the door to work the little night job I have. You know, for somebody who's been in business for himself or worked for himself as an artist, an illustrator, designer, a writer, all those things that I do under the creative umbrella, you don't know how humbling or humiliating it is even to go out and say, I had to go get a job to support my family, because you're tacitly admitting that the thing I have always done is not working, or it's presently not working, or it's temporarily not working, whatever it might be. But we've never gotten ahead of the heap. We've never gotten to that place where we can fall back and relax a little bit. And this having to do this job was a bash of reality that says, sometimes you got to do things for your family. If I was a single guy, it wouldn't matter. I was making plenty to be a single guy, not enough to sustain a family. And so you got to do things sometimes. And so it was a humbling effect. Um, that all the things I engage in on a creative basis, including this radio show, all the books I write, all that stuff, none of that was enough to make ends meet. And even though I'd been doing it for 40 years, count that. That's 40 years I've been doing this. Since 1983 was when I took my first job in this field, and as an artist. So even though I did it when I was in high school, which would be 46, 47 years ago, but there you go. So that's what it is. So, see you, Uncle Dave. And so he put in his normal, see you guys, I'm out of here, saying. So, see you, Uncle Dave. We'll talk soon. And so I'm doing this not because I want to, because I have to. Do I bring a good attitude? Yes. I'm always cheerful. I'm always up. I always try to be there and make somebody's day. I'm trying to be, it's not that hard. It's harder at night because there's not many people there at night. So yeah, when I win the lottery, you get $1 million. Why, thank you. I was just going to say the same thing to you, field guy. Hey, Sterling. Heck yeah, it's important. Yeah, absolutely. Sterling, if you just got here, maybe you missed, you're hailing all the way back to the beginning. Listen to the whole thing. You'll enjoy it. But we are live now too. So just for a few more minutes and I got to get out of here. So there will be a show on Friday. I am supposed to work nights again on Friday. I'm going to let you all in on a little secret. Tonight, I'm going to let them know I'm not doing nights anymore. Night shift is killing me. I'm not as young as I used to be. I'm not as healthy as I used to be, meaning I've got stuff that have been health setbacks in my life, and it's changed the way I work, changed the way my body works, the way my brain works. And you know what? I can't do the all-nighters anymore with a family. I'd have to take my family along with me on the night version of life. All of life happens while I'm supposedly supposed to be sleeping, so I can be prepared to go shift groceries around at a gasoline station and, stock shelves. That's not more important than my family. So even though it brings in the money, take care of things, and it's not a lot of money. 8 to 5 is a good shift, I'll tell them. Yeah. If not, I've got to really work harder on building up aspects of my business. So that's the trade-off. So it's a little humbling, a little humiliating when I had to announce to you guys. I wasn't going to even say anything about it. That's how embarrassing it was to have to admit that I have to do this. Because, like I was saying, after 40 years of doing what I do, the last year has felt like the first year of the 40, trying to build it from nothing. And so it's been a rough couple of quarters. So all that to say, that's why I'm doing this. That's why it's cutting into our radio time a little bit. But Friday I will be here. I'm supposed to be on. Now I just did Friday, Saturday, Sunday, now Monday night for the all-nighter, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Now you say, but Scotty, it's already past 10 p.m. That's because I told them, I said, I do radio. I said, so Monday, Wednesday, Friday, especially, I said, I won't be in till 10:30. Well, we got to have you there at 10. I said, I won't be here till 10:30. Part of it is I've got a little bit of an attitude. Maybe this will bite me in the ass someday when I get older. But I'm like, look, I've got important things in life that are more important than earning $18.50 an hour for a half an hour that I'm going to be late. If you need me there, you got to work the schedule, because if you want me there, you're going to have to work that schedule. So it works. If that doesn't matter, I'll go do something else. So that's always been my thing about it. I blame Biden too, field guy, sincerely. So all women coworkers here too, says Randall Flagg. I missed something you must have said earlier about that, where you're working, I suppose. So all that to say, I got about 4 minutes and I got to get out of here just so I can be there on my 10:30 time, because I got to walk out the door and get there. I'm all dressed here. See, I am all dressed in my convenience store clothing, and they have their own black sweaters with the logos on it. I wasn't going to spend $60 on a sweater because you're only allowed $46 to get your uniform. So I got this shirt. I couldn't even afford to get 2 shirts like this with that 46. So I had to spend some of my own money. So I had 2 different shirts. So Quick Trip, yes, Michelle Cannon-Free. If you haven't heard, I've been talking about it for a couple of weeks. Yeah, that's where I'm doing a night shift right now, at least for now. Who knows? I may be let go permanently if I let them know that I'm not doing night shift anymore after tonight. It is unconducive to life in my family. And so there you go. So I got to get out of here. That's all. I just wanted to have a little captain's cabin that was off the topic of the show, so we could talk about it off the radio with just all of us, our close, intimate friends, right here in the chat room. So my dad in his 40s had to work at a convenience store to support the family at the time. At the time, same scenario. Yeah, don't like it. Don't like it at all. I have a good attitude about it, and I'm happy when I get there, and I'm there, that all important being there. And I try to be cheerful and upbeat all the time. And so there it is. So folks, that's it. I got to go. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for watching the show. Tomorrow, see, I got my days all mixed up. I was saying Friday. We'll be back on Wednesday. I won't have to go to work afterwards on Wednesday. I'm not scheduled, even if I stuck to the schedule. I will be back tomorrow night with Wendy for Robertson at 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. London time. So watch for that show. There'll be announcements out for that. I'll be a little tired, I'm sure, but I won't have hanging over me the fact that I got to go to work after I'm done with the radio show. So I'm technically off now after tonight until Friday, unless they put a kibosh, because I'm not going to do the night shift anymore. So I'm just going to tell them it's destructive to my family and I can't do it. And my health. I'm turning into a zombie. So there you go. Everybody get out of here. We'll see you tomorrow for Robertson. We'll see you back again on Wednesday for Intrepid Radio. I love you all. I appreciate you all. Thank you for being here. Thanks for sticking with me through times, even when it's dumb and I got to rush off and we can't do a full captain's cabin. So all of you, live long and prosper.